In this video, we're reviewing The Naked Gun and cracking this case wide open like an egg on prom night with a coffee and donut cocktail called Glazed and Confused. Today, on the Martini Shot. Hello and welcome to the Martini Shot, the home of movie reviews and movie-themed cocktails. Before we get into the review, let's whip ourselves up a drink. If there's three things I know cops like, it's coffee, donuts, and a third thing. Lieutenant Frank Drebin Jr. is no exception, making his way through cups of coffee like people go through sunflower seeds. So this drink honoring those brave boys in blue will be a dessert sweet cocktail with a bit of a kick thanks to some powerful espresso. Plus, we're gonna decorate it all nice and fancy with some icing, sprinkles, and a bit of donut for the hell of it. Whether you're hard-boiled or a fat bozo chowing down on spaghetti, we're gonna get to the bottom of this drink together. Let's get into it. So first things first, we wanna go ahead and prepare our glass. So you're gonna wanna grab yourself a rocks glass, a little bit of icing, and some sprinkles. Using a knife, coat the rim of the glass with the icing, and then cover it in sprinkles. To minimize the mess, I'm only gonna be icing half of the rim, but feel free to do the entire thing if that's more your speed. Once you're done with that, you can go ahead and put your glass over to the side, grab yourself a cocktail shaker, and we can start working on the drink itself. In your shaker, you're gonna be adding half an ounce of cinnamon syrup, 1 ounce of half and half or a milk of your choice, a tiny dash of vanilla extract, and then half an ounce of fresh espresso. If you don't have access to that, feel free to use a cold brew coffee of your choice. Now for our alcoholic ingredients, first we're gonna be adding 1/4 of an ounce of creme de cacao, and finally 2 ounces of dark rum. Once you're done, go ahead and throw some ice in your shaker and shake to chill. Once you're done, go ahead and fill your prepared glass up with ice and then strain your cocktail into it. And then finally, feel free to garnish it with a little piece of donut. And there you go, now you have the Glazed and Confused. I feel like it's always a gamble every time I make a cocktail made with coffee because, well, I don't really like coffee. But it forces me to be creative where I can make a drink that still has that coffee taste, yet will be appealing to my flavor palette. Make no mistake, this is a coffee predominant cocktail. That espresso really comes forward even with just half an ounce. But the bitterness is eased back, obviously, thanks to the half and half. The sweetness of the cinnamon and vanilla definitely help as well. And the dark rum is a nice, bold addition. It also kind of has its own little notes of vanilla that I'm picking up on. The frosting and sprinkles definitely makes this one of the more unique looking cocktails that I've done so far. But like I always say, any cocktail that gives you something to eat alongside it is a win in my book. Sure, you could say this is a little bit of sugar overkill, but when is the police squad not overkilled something? Now that we have our drink, let's get right into the review. Look, I don't mean to sound 100 years old when I say this, but they really don't make movies like they used to. Truth be told, I don't really think that notion applies to most genres of movies, except the spoof movies. As a child, I was raised on the comedic tidings of your Mel Brookses and your Zucker brothers, forever warping my sense of humor at an age where I probably was too young to be doing that. But once the 90s had passed, the art of the spoof really died out. Jokes became mostly low-hanging, obvious fruit meant to shock you, while the creative nuances of something as simple as a magazine called Modern Sperm was completely disregarded. That being said, there are some decent modern parody movies, but nothing quite hits the absurdity of those classics. Well, director Akiva Schaffer and producer Seth MacFarlane certainly thought it was time we tried again, leading to the first Naked Gun film in over 30 years. And look, nothing is probably ever going to touch the brilliance of the original, but damn if this sequel isn't a good time. 2025's The Naked Gun is the best swing at mimicking the nonsensical nature of those classic spoof movies that I've seen in years, paying homage to the brilliance of the original while giving the formula its own coat of paint. This thing is stuffed to the brim with sight gags, wordplay, and medical-grade buffoonery, often leaving very little time where the film isn't trying to make you laugh. Of course, not every joke lands, but that certainly isn't the majority of the film, at least on my end. It's the kind of stupidity that actually has a brain behind it that comedies have been sorely missing. So Frank Drebin Jr., lieutenant of the LAPD police squad, is on the hunt for a murder potentially connected to one of the city's wealthiest tech moguls. Along the way, he falls in love, eats some chili dogs, and causes massive damage across the city, all in the pursuit of justice. Leslie Nielsen was a one-of-a-kind actor that simply cannot be topped, but maybe we can find someone who comes close and weirdly has a similar sounding name. Liam Neeson certainly does an admirable job adapting the same kind of blissfully unaware aura that Nielsen made famous. I think most people usually associate Liam Neeson with action movies, but his comedic timing cannot be denied. Like Liam, Leslie was also known for more serious roles before The Naked Gun, and it's that background that helps both of them succeed. Neeson kind of brings the air of somebody's grandpa wandered on set, cluelessly and haphazardly bulldozing through anything in his way. Yet whether it's beating up criminals dressed as a little girl or running from a murderous snowman, Neeson plays it straight-laced and down the middle, which only makes the whole thing funnier. By his side is Pamela Anderson playing Beth Davenport, the sister of the film's murder victim and eventual lover of Drebin. I'm admittedly not the biggest watcher of her work, as Baywatch was a bit out of my age range when it was airing, but I do think she does quite a solid job here. She plays a bit of a seductress and a bit of a scorned woman, yet has her own moments of goofiness, like a nonsensical scat routine at a jazz club. She does a swell job paired alongside Neeson, bouncing off each other with humorous noir-styled retorts that often make no sense in the best way. The bit players do just as well, with many people getting their moments. Paul Walter Hauser is always a joy to see, Denny Huston effortlessly slides into his 100th villain role, and others like Cody Rhodes, Dave Bautista, and Bruce Buffer all get a moment to shine in one way or another. Really, this entire review could just be me naming bits I liked. There's certainly no shortage, as there's usually always a pun or a sight gag on screen at any given time. The jokes are so rapid fire that even if one happens to miss, we move right on past and on to the next. Luckily, there's still plenty to parody from police procedurals that the original Naked Gun hadn't already covered. Things like officers being given coffee for any given event and guests taking the phrase "take a chair" very literally are just some of what the film is cooking with. Then there's the more meta gags, like a character exiting the left side of the frame only to reappear on the right side, or Drebin hitting the same cyclist every time he's in a car. Sure, some of these jokes are quite obvious, but the film knows how to make them hit. Admittedly, I do think the film uses most of its best jokes in the first half, as I found the comedy slowly waning as we got closer to the final act, but I was laughing through this way more than I wasn't. There's really not too much more to say. If you yearn for the bygone era of nonsensical spoof films, then the new Naked Gun might just scratch that itch. It manages to feel both timeless and timely, proving this comedy style and structure still has some legs in the modern day. It's one of those rare legacy sequels that manage to understand the assignment, and I think that's definitely worth something. Take it from a fan of the genre, this had me dying of manslaughter. Oh, sorry, it's pronounced man's laughter. For my rating, I'm giving this film 3.5 New Year's Eve balls out of 5. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Martini Shot. If you saw the new Naked Gun, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. And if you like what you saw here and would like to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow me across all social media channels. Those links are down in the description below. And if you enjoy movie reviews and movie-themed cocktails, be sure to check out my website, martinishot.blog. Until next time, thank you again for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Live deliciously, but please remember to drink responsibly.